Hi everybody, welcome to Unit 3, Video 1. If you don't have your notes, please go ahead and get them out now. All right, so the first thing we're doing here, it says I can use the laws of exponents to multiply a polynomial by a monomial. So right here we have same base multiplication. A to the m times a to the n means you have the base a and you add their exponents. So you want to multiply the coefficients here. So we have 5 times 3 times 4, which is going to get us 15 times 4, which is 60. And then we need to add the exponents. But don't forget that there's this implied invisible 1 here. So we're saying 2 plus 1 plus 5 is going to give us x to the 8th. All right, so the next one, again, you're multiplying. So remember, there's an implied 1 here and 1 here in front of the c. So you're multiplying those together to get c, and then we have to add the exponents. So x plus 5 minus x. Sorry that the pen was 5 minus x. Let me erase this. Okay, so let's try that again. We have c, x plus 5 minus x. So then when we combine our like terms, the x's are going to cancel. So you're just left with c to the 5th. All right, so now the next rule. Whenever you have a power, you have to distribute to everything inside of the parentheses. So here, this is going to become 3 squared x squared. And then when you simplify, you're going to get 9x squared. All right, the next one here, again, we have to distribute the 3 to both of these. So we're going to get 5 cubed y cubed. And then we simplify. 5 cubed is going to give us 125 y to the 3rd. All right, our next rule that we have here, it means a power to a power is we need to multiply. So we're going to distribute this, and we're going to get 2 to the 3rd. And then we're going to get x squared to the 3rd, which is going to give us x to the 6th. So the next step is just to simplify. So 2 to the 3rd is going to give us 8x to the 6th. All right, you need to make sure that you know that there's an invisible 1 between the negative and the a. So when you apply the exponent, it's going to all 3 of the terms. So we have negative 1 squared, which is going to turn into a positive 1. Then we're going to get a squared b to the 8th. Okay, for the next rule, again, we know it's a power to a power is to multiply, but you want to think of this expression x plus 2 as an invisible set of parentheses. So I'm just going to separate this out into ax minus 4 times, so I'm going to put the multiplication sign. Power to a power is to multiply, so this would be a to the 2 parentheses x plus 2, which means now I'm going to distribute this 2. So I have a to the x minus 4 times a to the 2x plus 4. So then at same base, it means I can add all the exponents. So I get a to the x minus 4 plus 2x plus 4. So now I can combine my like terms. X plus 2x is going to give me 3x. And negative 4 and positive 4 are going to cancel out. So I'm going to get a to the 3x. Okay, I want you to pause the video and you to try number 8. Okay, so we got r to the 3h. And so if you notice, it's kind of the exact same problem as number 7. Oops. Except the difference is just different variables. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our last couple of problems. So what we have here next is, again, we're distributing. So when you distribute here, you want to make sure that there's this 1. And since it's x to the first times, you're multiplying same base, you're going to think of it like this. X to the first, and then the rule is you add the exponents. So plus y minus 1. Then when you distribute to the next term, you're going to get a positive x, and then you have 1 plus y. And then when you go to the last term, you're going to get plus x to the 1 plus y plus 1. Sorry, y plus 1. Let me erase that. 1 plus y plus 1. Okay, so now what we have left to do is simplify. 1 and negative 1 are going to cancel out. So here you're just left with x to the y. This middle term, you have 1 plus y, but I'm just going to switch the order to the x to the y plus 1. And then on the last term here, I can add the 1 and the 1. So I get plus x to the y plus 2. Ah. Okay, so 2. All right, so this next one, again, you're going to distribute to what you have inside of the parentheses. So same base, you're going to add the exponents. So we have x to the m minus n plus n plus m. Then when you distribute to the middle term, you have a 1 in front of the x and a negative 1. So when you multiply those together, you're still going to get a negative 1x. And we have m minus n plus n minus m. And then to the last term, we get plus x to the m minus n. Oh, let me erase this. X. Let's try this again. Plus x to the m minus n plus n. Okay, so now I want you to pause the video and see if you can finish it from there. All right, let's take a look at how you did. So when we simplified this middle one here, we got, it's going to simplify to 0. And then when I write the final answer, I'm changing my order. So I get x squared, then plus x, and minus 1. Because remember, a number to the 0 power is 1. So we're making the assumption that x doesn't equal 0. So if it doesn't equal 0, we know it would turn into a 1. All right, let's go to the next page. Okay, so these next sets of problems, they're saying I can multiply polynomials. So when you multiply the polynomials, you want to make sure you're using the distributive property. So we're going to go ahead and distribute our first term in the first parentheses to our first term in the second parentheses. So that's going to give us 6x squared. Then we're going to distribute our first term to our last term in the parentheses, so plus 8x. Then in our first set of parentheses, we take the second term and distribute it, so we get negative 15x. And then we take that negative 5 and distribute it to the last term, so minus 20. Then we need to combine any like terms that we have. There's no other x squared, so I'm left with just 6x squared. There's an 8x and a negative 15x, so I'm going to combine those. So 8x minus 15x is going to give me a negative 7x, and then I have minus 20. So that's completely simplified. So now you want to be careful with number 2. You cannot just apply the square to both of them. This is an expression. They're bounded by this minus sign. So whenever you square something, you're saying you're multiplying it by itself. So that's what you need to do here. You need to write it out twice. So you're saying 6 minus 5n times 6 minus 5m. So you're multiplying it by itself. Then you can distribute. So 6 times 6 is going to give us 36. 6 times negative 5m is going to give us negative 30m. When I do the inside term, I'm going to get another negative 30m. And then negative 5m times negative 5m is going to be a positive 25m squared. All right, so this one I'm going to change some order around. I want to make sure the highest exponent comes first. So I'm going to start with this 25m squared. There was no other m squared, so it's by itself. Then I'm going to combine my like terms here. Negative 30m and negative 30m are going to give me a negative 60m. And then my last term is a positive 36. And so then this is your final answer. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Again, it's quantity squared, so you want to make sure you're writing it out twice. X squared minus y times x squared minus y. And then you're going to distribute. So I'm going to get x to the 4th. I'm going to distribute here, and I'm going to get a negative x squared y. Then I'm going to distribute this inside term, so I get a negative x squared y. And then I'm going to distribute to the last one. So again, negative times a negative is a positive y squared. So now we combine any like terms we have, and we start in standard form, highest exponent first. So I have x to the 4th, and then I have minus 2x squared y, and then a positive y squared by itself. All right, so far we've multiplied our binomials together, meaning 2 terms together. But now we have this one, which is a binomial, 2 term, and then a trinomial, 3 terms. So you could go ahead and do what we did before, where you draw the arcs and then we write a long line and combine them, and that's perfectly fine. That's a perfectly fine way to do it. But just to make things a little more clear, I like to put it in a box. So I'm going to take the trinomial first. So I have x squared plus 2x minus 6, and that's going to make the top of my box. And then on the side of my box, I'm going to put the binomial. So 3x positive 1, so plus 1 here. And then I'm just going to make these little sections so I can fill in. So remember, we're doing multiplication. So this is 3x times x squared, which is going to give me 3x cubed. Then right here I have 3x times 2x, which is 6x squared. And then 3x times negative 6, which is negative 18x. On the bottom row, I'm going to get 1 times x squared, which is just 1x squared. 1 times 2x is just 2x. And 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. Then I'm going to combine my like terms. 3x cubed, there's nothing to combine it with, so I'm just going to rewrite it, 3x cubed. But now what I like about the box is on the diagonal are my like terms. So if I notice here, I have x squared and 6x squared, which is going to give me a positive 7x squared. Then I have a 2x and a negative 18x, which when I combine those is going to give me a negative 16x. And there's nothing to combine negative 6 with, so I'm just going to leave it as negative 6. And so there's my polynomial. All right, so the next one, what you want to make sure you're doing is you want to do these inside ones first and then distribute the r squared. So I'm just going to bring down my r squared like this, and then I'm going to distribute what I have inside here. So I'm going to distribute here. So I'm going to get r squared, then I'm going to get a negative r. The inside term is going to give me a positive r, and then the last term is going to give me a negative 1. So I'm just going to bring down this r squared on the outside, and I'm going to combine like terms on this inside parentheses. So r squared, negative r and positive r are going to cancel, but I still have this minus 1. So now what I have left to do is to distribute that r squared that was on the outside. So I get r to the 4th minus r squared. Okay, so the next one is your binomial times your trinomial. So again, you can use distributing or you can use a box, but I want you to try this. So I want you to pause the video and try to do number 6. All right, let's go ahead and see how you did. We got x cubed minus x squared y minus xy squared plus y cubed. All right, for this next problem here, number 7, you want to make sure that you're doing these two parentheses first, and then you're distributing this negative 3x to this next set of parentheses. So go ahead and pause the video and try that problem. All right, so when we distributed, we got x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6, and negative 3x squared minus 12x, and then I combined my like terms, and so I got negative 2x squared minus 13x minus 6. Okay, so with number 8, you want to be really careful. You want to make sure that you remember that there's a negative 1 in between the negative and the parentheses here. So if you want to draw that 1, that there's this negative 1. Now, you also want to make sure that you know you have to do these multiplication of your binomials first, but then you need to distribute this negative to everything you have once you simplify. So you might want to add a bracket over here to remind yourself that you need to distribute that negative once you've simplified. So let's go ahead and do that. So when we distribute here, we're going to get 2x squared. Then here we're going to get a negative 10x. On the inside, we're going to get a plus 3x. And then we're going to get a minus 15. So I'm going to bring down that negative, and I'm going to bring down my brackets. When I distribute here, I'm going to get x squared. Then I'm going to get negative 4x. Here I'm going to get a positive 2x. And here I'm going to get a negative 8. Then I'm going to combine what I can on this left-hand side. So I have 2x squared, negative 10x, and 3x is going to give me a negative 7x. And I have minus 15. So still, I'm going to bring down this minus sign and bring down my bracket, because what's left to do is to combine any like terms that I have. So I have x squared, I have a negative 4x, and a positive 2x. So when those combine together, I'm going to be left with a negative 2x, and I have a negative 8. All right, so I'm just going to bring down this left-hand side again. 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. Then I'm going to distribute this negative to all three terms. So now I have a negative x squared, a positive 2x, and a positive 8. So now I can combine whatever like terms I have. So 2x squared and negative x squared is going to leave me with just a 1x squared. Then I have negative 7x and 2x, which is going to leave me here with a negative 5x. And then in my last term, I have negative 15 and positive 8. So that's going to combine to give me a negative 7. So then this is your final answer, x squared minus 5x minus 7. All right, so what I want you to do next is I want you to pause the video and I want you to try 9, 10, 11, and 12. And with 11, you need to remember that since it's cubed, you want to write it out 3 times. Just like when it was squared, you wrote it out twice. But when it's cubed, you're going to write it out 3 times. Same thing for number 9, it's squared, so you're going to write it out twice. P to the n minus 1 times P to the n minus 1. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try these 4 problems. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we did on these. So, number 9, when you distribute it here, we should end up with p to the 2n minus p to the n minus p to the n plus 1. So when you combine your like terms, you have p to the 2n minus 2p to the n plus 1. So number 10, I went ahead and made a box here, and then I noticed that a squared and b squared canceled, negative ab squared and ab squared, those canceled, so you were left with just a cubed plus b cubed. All right, in the last 2 problems, again, this one you had to write it out 3 times. I started with the last 2. You could have started with the first 2. That's okay. And then when I distributed and simplified, I was left with a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Then I still had to multiply it by this a minus b. So again, I felt it was easier to make a box. So here's my box and all my work. And then when we combined all our like terms, we got a cubed minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b cubed. All right, for number 12, I had my binomial times my 4-term polynomial. So then I have, I made a box again just to keep it, for me to keep it organized. So then if you noticed, all these middle terms canceled out. So I was left with a to the 4th minus b to the 4th. All right, everybody, thank you for watching the video.